evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Talking Pop Culture with Jake D. I am joined tonight by a good friend from the Nerdrotic family of members and followers, Ace Mr. Freeze. How are you, Ace?
I'm doing great. How you doing tonight, Jake D?
Dude, I am revved up for some reason tonight. Must be some kind of weird announcement here in Texas happened today. got a little energy.
I hear next week is going to be
interesting. Yes, that's the word, man. It's got me, a little full energy tonight, man. So that's cool. That's good stuff.
It's an exciting time. 2021 is off to a decent start. Q1 should end right.
I hope so. All right, man. And you know what? A part of that Q1 of 2021 is the show that we are here to talk about tonight, and that is The Great Escapists. So this was something that wasn't on my radar, and Ace brought it up to me. He said, "Hey, man, dude, we should watch this and review the show." All right, why not?
Yeah.
I got a gap in entertainment right now, fuck it. Let's turn it on and see what's going on. So The Great Escapists is, if you are a fan of Top Gear and Mythbusters, you're going to like this show. You really are.
Unless the only thing about Top Gear that you liked was James May, then we're good.
Case, yeah.
Then we're good. James May's got his own show, and we can definitely talk about that another time. But here,
absolutely,
it's Richard Hammond, Tori Belleci, and it's just a ton of fun.
Oh God, yes. So Hammond, the guy he's a character, man. He is a character, and I was never a big Top Gear fan, so I didn't really know him. And watching him in this series was just a lot of fun. The dude, he's funny. He's inventive, and he
really is.
Yeah, I mean, I loved what he did here. And then, of course,
I've been very familiar with him.
Okay, so you've got more history with Top Gear then, right? And some of his other stuff?
Yeah, but you knew Mythbusters, right?
Oh, God, yes. Yeah. So this show actually got me on a kick of binging back through Mythbusters. Mm-hmm. And I was watching, it was funny.
Do that.
Oh, dude. On the Discovery Plus app, you can do it. It's like $6-7 a month. Or
it costs $6 because I can do that in a week or something.
Yeah. I've also got Philo, which is what I'm watching it on, which gives you kind of your expanded cable package. Most of those channels are on that. That's $20 a month. I've been watching it there.
Xfinity just gave me their box, which has Peacock for free. I only have the internet. I don't need any of it. And they're like, "Would you like this for free?" And I was like, I just like internet. Like, you can have this for free. Like, okay, sure.
I guess so. Yeah,
I'll check it out there. Why not? In the set top wars? No, wait, no, that was 1990. In the overtop, no, 2020. Yeah. What is this now? The internet wars, the streaming wars.
The streaming wars.
Yeah, good for consumers.
Sentient Dildo Hammond wrecking $1 million remake was insane. Yeah, I've heard about that.
So that was huge. I was watching Top Gear. Sorry, not Top Gear. The Grand Tour as it happened. But that guy is known for his accidents. And one of the fun things, and we'll get to it, is he's always wearing a helmet here. And
yes, he is.
I think that's one of the good setups of the show is that this is sort of a safer environment than he's definitely used to. And I think for Mythbusters also gets a little bit dangerous. They've blown stuff up for real.
Yeah. So I mean, Hammond does refer to Belleci as the explosion guy in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was a big fan of Belleci. I liked him on the build team on Mythbusters. The dude was always hurting himself.
He's got great personality.
Yes.
Oh, was he?
Always hurting himself, man. There's great highlight reels of him
really
of him hurting himself.
There have got to be of Hammond of just crashing cars. Just tumbling over sideways. I mean, his biggest crash was with a jet car.
Oh God.
Yeah. And so those books that they have in this show, that, you know, like they're throwing around and joking about. One of them is about his time when like everything was going good on Top Gear and then crash and just what it takes to recover. And his wife took over like the narrative at that point because he was just in the hospital, head injury, no recollection. Every 10 minutes, like, oh, hello, who are you? Nice to meet you. So and he recovered. Yeah, luckily.
Yeah. Robert was apparently a fan of Mythbusters, particularly Carrie. Yeah. And Balachi refers to Hammond as the car guy. Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Fenrir. So yeah, if you are anti-spoiler, this is not the stream to be on. Because we're definitely going to get into it to an extent. We haven't gone there yet, but we're going to pretty soon.
I mean, we could mention something new to give you like a leaving party, but I don't think we'll do that to you this time.
Yeah, but
some other do not search content. Do not search.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, so that's kind of your basic setup, and to be really clear, I mean they played the show as if it was like a real event that happened to these guys. But, you know, obviously it was a setup. They put them on a beach, presumably off the coast of South America somewhere. They don't really ever say where.
No, it would ruin it if they did.
Yeah. And they put them on a little island. And
so I had like a question about that.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't sure how they're going to do this. I was like, is it going to start off with, hello and welcome to The Great Escapists? Because that would have been, you know, like, okay, we know then you could just like work with your camera crew and leave because, you know, like they're always there and being helpful. But this starts with Hammond just with like this blissful face on the beach. And then Balachi's like, yo, we've got to get off this island. Like we're wrecked. And it's like, and it's that setup where immediately I'm like, okay, this is funny and fun, and I'm not to worry about that. Like, just do not worry and enjoy. So to me, that's what the setup did. But I wonder how that worked for you and how it could work for others.
I mean, you know, instantly that it's obviously a scripted and prepared show. I mean, these guys are doing real things, and they're having a lot of fun doing it. But the setting that they gave them allowed for some comedy, and the setting was important because it was about the crazy shit that they could do with, you know, just sort of the materials that were available to them. So
which is an awesome premise. You can take that and, you know, you can take that and do it anywhere. You can put them in Russia. You can, you know, like on a plane wreckage. Like there's just tons of stuff you could use with that kind of material.
Oh dear, Fenrir says he's still recovering from 2 Girls, 1 Cup. So just stay away from the blue waffle, Fenrir. Stay away.
You know, he probably even missed the chat roulette days.
Yeah, I bet he did. He's a
don't
little younger than us.
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah, I just strongly recommend you not Google blue waffles, Fenrir. Don't do it. Yeah, the setup was really cool though, right? So it was
it set my expectations really well.
Yes, agreed. I would say that sort of the initial, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes of the show, it was a little bit rough, I thought. But once they got into it, you know, that sort of noticing it went away. And overall, you could you could just enjoy after the first 15, 20 minutes. I don't know if maybe it needed a better scripting or what it was, but it was just a little herky-jerky.
Well, like they went into this like gag about this sale, which, you know, to be fair, they keep it running.
Yeah, you know, like, they do. Yes.
No stone that they turned over, you know, they don't turn it back, but they didn't need to start there. They could have just started more with, you know, building the help sign kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, they sort of rushed a little bit too much into their games, which it's fine. You know, it is about their games. It really is.
Yes. Yeah. And the games are cool. So once you've got the initial setup put together, then they start doing their thing in the sort of Top Gear and Mythbusters tradition, right? We
And they get there basically by saying, like, we have all this material on one side of the beach, and it's this shipwreck. And we are sort of comfortably happy to live on this side of the beach where there are shipping containers and we're safe.
Filled with rubbers, which you need to remember.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping this was going to be one of these things where I could introduce Richard Hammond to, like, my nephew. But Top Gear is, I understand Britain and the US are a little different. Top Gear is a little racy. But this was like, no, we got 5,000 condoms. I was like, yeah, we're gonna skip this for a moment. We're gonna wait another year or two.
Yeah,
but it's all about like getting that gear from one side to the other, and that's where the building a car comes in, and of course Hammond in a car. And I just love that they get into that like popular science already. Like where they got me was where Hammond's going like, so gearing. Do we get a small gear for speed? Or a large one for, dragging. And he's like, well, dragging. Right, Tori, but speed.
Yeah.
And like, that's the Top Gear fun. That's what I like. And once they use that as a method for their games, like then they're playing, then they're off. And it's really fun. They have their Clarkson.
Oh God, I was going to.
Yeah, no, please.
Oh, Clarkson was hysterical. So from Top Gear, one of the hosts was Jeremy Clarkson, and Hammond finds an old soccer ball, and he draws a face on it, just like Tom Hanks in Castaway, and he names it Clarkson. Yeah, and they eventually give him a body like Buster. And they even use him. They even use him like Buster from MythBusters, but it's Clarkson.
They use a lot. They use him a lot. He's carrying out of the water dramatically.
Yeah. So Clarkson it ends up becoming their crash test dummy in the show, and it's great. But what Ace was saying, in this first episode, the big thing was that they. Hammond built a car out of parts that he salvaged from the wreck of their ship.
Out of wood, mostly.
Mainly out of wood, right? Yes, that was Hammond channeling Clarkson. Exactly. Speed. And Tori immediately told him he was an idiot. They're trying to move heavy things, so a fast car is not going to do shit for them. And naturally, Hammond challenges him to a build-off. And Tori builds this huge tank that traverses the sand on augers.
Is that how to say it? Like, yeah, it's tremendous. It's these pillars of steel that I've never seen anything move like it. It's just so cool.
Yes, and it's this big tank that's got these like helixes for wheels, and he can move kind of any way that he wants, and it's anybody who's watching I think can see it's going to be much better in the sand. But Hammond insists that they race, and he even builds a racetrack for them to go around.
Brilliant. Brilliant. If you saw on Amazon's X-Ray that that little racetrack is because it's at sea level, is the lowest racetrack in the world.
I love the X-ray feature that Amazon has. It's cool. It's got neat stuff in it.
They use it.
Yeah, because it's not just telling you who the cast is or what the music is playing. It's also got stuff like what Ace was just talking about. It's the lowest elevation
racetrack on Earth,
racetrack in the world. Yes, it was cool. And so Hammond, he's got this piece together wooden car that he's trying to steer with like vines on like a bicycle type steering wheel, and it starts coming apart in the race, so he can only turn right and the track's going left.
Right, it's like a triangle. It's like the one thing he can't do.
Yeah. And this giant like pontoon land yacht, is just another red shirt puts it, manages to traverse around this track faster, and he beats Hammond to the finish. and it was hysterical. I don't know how much of that was really sort of them thinking up the idea, like Adam and Jamie used to do on Mythbusters, versus them getting assistance with what to put together or what have you. But it didn't matter because it was entertaining. I
did not think about it then.
I didn't either.
The car was simple enough. Like if you have, just if you can make it run, then just to make those gears, have it go, like that's definitely doable. And when you just come up with that huge metal monstrosity, I was just blown away. Like I'm not thinking about, hey, like that takes 6 or 10 people to make, and how like, nope, don't care. This thing is cool. And if you disagree, there's probably a cooking show up by James May on Amazon.
That's right.
Yeah.
So then they use Tori's land tank pontoon boat thing to drag all the shit from the boat wreck over to where they wanted to live. That's kind of the end of the first episode, and it was a hoot, man. I mean, it was fun.
Yeah.
It's a 6-episode run, and each of them is about 40 to 45 minutes long. And it was just cool, that was a lot of fun.
And I can add one bit of extra fun. If you are a fan of Top Gear, the Grand Tour, you know how Jeremy Clarkson sounds. And you've probably heard him yell a couple things. And you can just take that dummy of Clarkson and imagine his voice going, Hammond, you idiot. And just other things like that. And there are ways to even just spice it up yourself if you know these characters. It starts off with a joke in that first episode, where it's like, now I know why you don't like boats. And he's like, can't trust a boat. It's never where you last parked it. And that is exactly from their boating tour of Southeast Asia. And like, that's how it starts off. And they have a pretty rough time. I think Hammond's leg gets like the leg that he broke from the Rimac crash gets like infected from dirty water in Vietnam. And he's on this like speedboat. And so, yeah, he didn't like boats then. He still doesn't like boats now. And it's like a great liftoff. And I like the connections that they draw. It helps.
Absolutely. Oh, we will get to that, Mary G. We will get to that. Absolutely.
I'm a man like you, but I'm a man with a massive cannon. That's just a funny line. Always.
It makes you laugh, man. Yeah. It was good times, man. So, I mean, in the second episode, they've started to build their bamboo ton of stuff. Treehouse,
the bamboo aqueduct.
Yes, and they decide that they need electricity to make some things work. Like they want to charge Hammond's phone to try to make a call to get rescued,
which is a great idea.
Oh, it's not a bad idea at all. Fuck, if you can get some signal, hell yeah, right?
Popular science tips in this episode.
Hell yeah. So Tori uses the native yucca to create batteries. And he lines up, so, he uses like some nickel and some iron from shit from the boat.
It's like nails and wire.
Exactly.
Easy stuff.
Yeah, stuff that they could salvage from the boat. And he makes this array of yucca batteries. How big would you say it was, Ace?
Those wooden planks were definitely the size of a twin bed. And yeah.
And there were like 8 of them.
Let's say 8. So there were at least 8 that we're thinking of, plus a few benches and things.
Yes.
Like this is at least 100 feet of yucca.
Yeah.
Like 10 by 10. Yeah, way more.
Yeah, and he's got this channeled into a battery that they use to charge the phone. It's got like just enough electrical output to charge a cell phone, which is with yucca. Yeah.
And if you're like, I've never heard of yucca, I've never had yucca, you probably haven't. But if you've had tapioca, you've had yucca.
Yes. Yeah. 1,000 slices of yucca, at least, red shirt, at least, my friend, or more. And they also use yucca as one of their main food sources. Until they make the fishing, which
I
was
love
so
that.
cool. Oh God, that was
I love
cool.
that. It's cheating. That's really cheating.
Totally cheating. It worked. Holy shit, did it work?
I'm surprised like that wasn't like ancient technology. Like why haven't we been doing that? Why don't we fish like this forever? But yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll get there, man. Yeah. So this battery thing though, like if you guys think to, like a 6th grade science class experiment with the potato battery, that's what this was. But there were thousands of them to create enough juice to charge a phone, which was very cool.
It was when I did wonder. I hope Hammond didn't have to cut all these yuccas. It was the first time I was like, I really hope that the crew is there.
I'm sure the crew helped with that. Yeah. But they also, in the meantime, are building like a Swiss Family Robinson style treehouse with the local bamboo and stuff like that. And you get Hammond says he's doing most of the building. I mean, God knows how they really built it, but again, they did it with all stuff on the island, and you don't watch it, but they tell you it's like a couple months later or some shit. Yeah, because it took them a long ass time to build this.
Yeah, I mean, if it were just the two of them, it would definitely take, two guys who definitely know their way around tools. Yeah, it would definitely take at least a month or two to get something that good. But
yeah,
with a team, I could say that could take a little quicker.
I'm sure it would be a little faster with a team, but yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that if it was just a couple of guys, that this was going to take a while.
And I wasn't really worried about it because they built it in stages, and that first stage was really cool. Just living quarters that you would want on an island. If you knew you were going to be rescued in like 2 months, you'd want these accommodations.
Oh hell yeah. Yeah, it was very, very pretty. Ultimately, it ends up being kind of a pretty nice house, honestly. Give you a quick shot of it. I've got we'll get the
the image.
Yeah, we'll get this pulled up so the audience can see this thing. So this is the house that they built out of the local bamboo and some of the ship parts and things like that. As you can see, this is not a minor undertaking. This is some serious work.
It's fancy. It is fancy.
Very, very fancy. That's why Mary was saying it reminded her of the Swiss Family Robinson treehouse. And yes, they did eventually have a pet monster.
Yeah, we have a chicken on the island named Dory Belici.
That's right. So Hammond once showed up in the northernmost ski area in the world with a race-ready Docker off-roader and claimed he'd built it the night before. Yeah, it sounds about right.
Very rarely do they admit to not building it themselves. I think in their last special, that Patagonia one, is when they had like, can we have some help over here? And then they cut. They built ourselves.
Yeah. We had Ascension Dildo says he's sure they built this without any help. Yeah. I'm sure the crew assisted, but it doesn't change the fact that it's cool, right? Yeah. And so you can see in here that they've got some piping built in right here, right? So what they did was they tapped a stream on the island in order to provide themselves with running water, which was cool as hell. They called the bamboo nature's plumbing, right? And which they routed, they routed this water a long way to get down to their beach house here. And in their efforts to create more power, because the yucca just didn't provide enough juice to reliably, quickly charge the cell phone. So they took the alternator from the boat and they built this water wheel right here that turns the alternator to create some proper power for them, which was cool as shit. And it's, again, everything that they do, you could legitimately do this, if you were savvy enough to understand. And right. I mean, Ace and I couldn't do this because we're.
So you say that, but if you were trapped like this, these are the kind of things that you could feasibly do. It's sort of like you do need your high school textbook, but it's not a college textbook. This is high school textbook stuff.
Oh yeah.
In our day and age. So it's just a matter of, having the right resources.
In fairness, would either you or I have thought of finding a way to turn the alternator in order to give us power? I wouldn't have.
I absolutely would have. Would have. But cars, I'm a lot more comfortable with, and computers. But the aqueduct, no, not at all. I wouldn't have thought to use the water. None of the Greco-Roman stuff was up my alley.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I probably would have thought of the aqueduct. So, okay, so nice. If we're trapped on an island, we might be a good pair then. Yeah.
Right. Boats, you any good?
No, no good.
No, I'm also not good at. I'm not good at the flying. Yeah. So
we'll get to the flying.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
Yeah. So this was the power up episode where everything got electrified, and they built one water wheel. It worked, just not powerful enough, and I don't really understand that, but apparently you can use. I mean, I thought it was just using more power than you were making, but they built two water wheels because the second one was twice.
They had to make it bigger, because basically the alternator, it locked up because it had created an electromagnet that stopped it from turning, and so they just needed a bigger water wheel to keep the thing going.
Messes with the magnetism. Mm-hmm. I would not have known.
And Vigilante Williamson, good to see you in the chat, my friend. Yes, dude, I think you would love this show, V-Dub. It is fun.
Yeah, their little game of can roulette. Like, what are we going to have for dinner? Yeah. Beans? Nope, not beans.
Tori eats dog food. Yeah. They had a little bit of canned food that they salvaged. They didn't know what was in the cans, and Hammond ended up with beans, and Tori got dog food.
And I mean, that's another classic Top Gear one in their Botswana special. No, in the special where it's one of their Africa specials, because Hammond has a Subaru WRX Impreza hatchback, and he has a little kitchenette in the back. Really, it works, and he's cooking beans every night. Like, yeah, I'll have some more beans.
Well, Ascension Dildo, if we're ever stuck on an island, have at it, my friend. I will let you be completely in charge of growing all pharmaceuticals. Totally okay.
Do you have any Advil plant?
Yeah.
Just in case.
Who knows? Is that the one where they're trying to find the source of the Nile? Ginger's asking.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just another red shirt says yes.
Yeah, they do it in those. I guess it's a BMW and a Volvo. What is it? A Volvo something 90, and it's so inappropriate. It's like the one Volvo you shouldn't bring. It's the one Volvo that doesn't have off road. It's like James May always gets it wrong in some way, and he did it in that one. But Richard Hammond did it in a Subaru and had a ton of fun. And I actually had a Subaru WRX and loved it. The wrong car to give someone, like, hey, you're 16 and 17. Have a all-wheel drive turbocharged car. Yeah. No worries. 126 miles an hour later. Where'd he go?
Yeah. So some of the other cool things they do, like moving into the third episode of the show. So we were alluding to this a little bit earlier.
Probably the coolest, I think.
In terms of their survival. Yeah. In terms of their survival tech, the third episode was definitely the coolest one, because that's when they brought in the fishing lure. And so they hooked up to their big water wheel that they made to power the house, a rotating cord.
I think we're actually talking about the fourth episode, because the third one's yeah. No, I was also thinking of that, but I think that's the fourth. The third one is with the water based stuff, the bicycle.
The bicycle, yeah. It's also the fishing episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And so so they build this giant conveyor of a rope, and they base it way out in the water at low tide. So when the tide comes in, their fishing lines underwater, and they use the water wheel to run it and to pull their lures in from the ocean. And this thing catches fish like you guys wouldn't believe. I mean, and it was legit. We're watching this come in, and they're just roping up fish like nobody's business.
And you can tell this is one of those shows where they have the opportunity to a lot of, I don't know what it's called, but the golly script got their wood, like where they could do any voiceover and they could do cuts. And this is one of those scenes where they don't have a cut. It's like they start it rolling and it starts getting fish, like, and then you see like they actually stop because it catches too many. Like they don't need that many. This is a gag. They don't need to feed themselves. So it's the best invention, and it's so simple.
Yeah, it was crazy because I mean they were genuinely surprised. You can see it when you're watching it. They're just like, holy shit,
Yeah.
The fish
Genuine surprise, and they make each other laugh genuinely. Like
yes,
when they were talking in that first episode with the car, and he's like, hey, like, Richard, it's geared all wrong. He's like, you're going to criticize a car with side pipes, and Belichi just loses it.
Yeah, yes. Man,
we have a pharmacist in the chat. Well, thank you, Sentient.
Clearly.
Dildo.
Oh, Sentient Dildo, dude. I could just watch him
feel
type,
right.
I could just watch him type shit all night and just laugh my ass off and be entertained. That guy is so funny.
We've had great chats here in yours, so
yeah,
happy you're back here, man.
Shh. Don't. I think that's one of those words that gets a stream spiked. Yeah.
Oh, in that case, let's layer it on.
Oh man, I don't disagree with you though, V-Dub, but we can't let anybody know.
I don't want everybody to know.
There you go.
Resource managing.
Yeah.
But so they had the fish catcher here, and that was really good. But they also had, I think, the booze mill.
No, that was the next. That was the next episode one? 4. Yeah, that was in the 4th episode. This one is, Tori is just, he's obsessed with finding ways to get off the island to save themselves, right?
So a normal human being would.
Yes, and so they do the raft build off. Right. Tell about the rafts, man.
Yeah, so Tori Belichi decides that he's going to get some, objects that float and tie them together, use some other materials to create a platform, and basically creates a rudimentary flotation device that if you were stuck in a pinch, you would use. And Hammond decides that wood has air in it.
Yeah.
And if you tie them together, then wood has more air in it. And then just take it out into water, and it fails. Because of course it fails. But like, I know he's bad at boats, but come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what he does though is he builds a raft like somebody who doesn't know what they're doing would build. And I think that was part of the point of why they had him build the one that he did, where he was just kind of strapping some bamboo together and shit and some wood.
Like, he didn't even have any cross beams, No. Like, that was just like, you could have laid rail on top of that, and that's about it.
Yeah. So his raft fucking sinks, but Belichi builds an actual working serviceable raft, right? And
keyword is raft though, because that's great raft material, and that's about it.
Yes. Yeah. So he's got the barrels, like these 55-gallon barrels that are sealed, and were they plastic, I think? And he uses them
Yeah,
like,
they would have had to have been.
yeah, and he uses them like pontoons, and he builds a raft surface on top of them, and he's floating no problem. And he's trying to sail this thing. Bringing back the sail that you were talking about.
Yeah. So a raft is not a sailboat.
No.
And that, like I know nothing about boats, but I know history. And in history, they have boats and they build boats and they don't build rafts. Like there's a lot of work that goes into, like curving wood, and sails are complicated things. And in history, there's just a ton of cool stuff about like how many sails you need. And this guy just puts a square sail on a wooden stick.
Yes.
Like the fact that they get any distance at all is shocking. And then when they put it up, it just collapses. And I'm happy that happened, because this has, I think, the coolest piece of old school tech ever, if you want to talk about it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, run into it, man.
They use the boiler to create a steam engine. And this is a boiler from an old ship. And it's like rusty already. And it just looks gorgeous as like a salvage operation. Like this is something you want to find on like, and it's just anywhere. You could do anything with this boiler, and they put it on a boat. And then I don't know if you played Civilization ever.
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay. So, they have quotes along with their technology. Yes. And I think it was Civ 4, but I could be wrong. But they quote Napoleon. It's like, you would move a ship by lighting a fire under its engine. And just like, we're going to pass on this enlightened technology for the day. But that's what they do. They actually put a steam engine on wood and get out. And it works. It works.
Of course, that was an evolution of the bicycle.
The bicycle. All right. I did skip the bicycle. I mean, yeah. So if you're like in a lover's quarrel, but you have to boat together, then you would like take apart your little swan boat where you're sitting next to each other and put them opposites, like front to back. Well, they were front to front and just going forward on a pedal boat.
Yes.
Which just, I mean, it just makes me tired. It makes me upset. Like, it was funny. It really was. But, I would never want to do that. Especially not with another dude. Like, no. Unless you are my partner and my lover. No.
Well, I mean, I like you and all, Ace, but what can I say? So here they are on the paddle boat that they're trying to power with.
Look where Tori's hands are.
Yeah.
Like if Richard leans back at all, that's like a lot of butt sweat in tropical weather. Don't care who you are. That's a lot of sweat.
Yeah. So they're trying to pedal this bike, and it just doesn't work because it's not enough power, right? You can't get that wheel turning fast enough to really get you anywhere.
And they're beach umbrellas.
Yeah, the beach umbrellas to keep them cool. So this gives them the idea to use the boiler to build the steam engine, though, because that builds up some proper power to get them moving. But of course, Richard is not terribly reliable, and he's a little lazy.
Yeah, he is. So, I mean, did they get to where they wanted to go in the sea lane anyways? I don't know.
Tori says they did, but
yeah,
I don't know how he really could have known that, though. So
I can't eyeball it. No.
Yeah. So they're out there in the ocean on this like rafty ship powered by the steam boiler to turn the wheel. And Hammond was wearing jeans, sentient dildo. Yes, he was. And Tori wants to take a snooze, and so he has Hammond mind the fire, and he tells him very specifically how he is supposed to do it. Right, you got to put one piece of wood in every 15 minutes because one of the important things about this tech is you can't overpressurize the boiler, or it's going to cause you some issues.
Yeah.
Well, Hammond figures it's no big deal. He can just throw 4 pieces in once an hour, and he can catch a few Z's himself. and it just about blows up the boiler because it overpressurizes. They have to abandon ship, and it's hysterical.
But and it doesn't actually like go out on them. They just think it does, which is even better because they just abandon it. They just leave it, and then when they realize it, they go back. And this is like probably if you were, like if you had this tech, getting a boiler to work. Okay, like you know how to do it. It is simply just a matter of following the piping and creating fire.
Yeah.
But they get to this spot and they just ruin it because they want to turn back and they have no more firewood and they eat their own boat. They burn their own boat
in order to get back to shore. It was great, man.
It was the first time where I'm like really thinking where I'm like, I hope I see the shadow of that camera boat because they're really not wearing like the best life preserving materials. Like
nothing.
Like I know they're in a safe tropical area. Like this is not a dangerous spot.
Yeah.
But
at the same time, their boat is sinking with a giant boiler on it.
And they're burning the rest of it.
Yes. and they get Clarkson off there because they're very worried that Clarkson's going to go away and have.
Yeah. One of my they have they do a little bit of like the Baywatch thing where like they're dramatically getting out of the water, except it's Hammond carrying this puppet of Clarkson. Just, no, I'll save you.
It was good, man. It worked. It was funny. I just enjoyed the shit out of it.
Well, I can still hear Clarkson's voice from one of their specials. Like one of maybe their Burma one was like, Hammond, don't just go off, Hammond.
And it's great is they almost treat the Clarkson dummy like he's a person, which makes for a really good joke at the end of the show.
Well, I mean, the Castaway thing was sort of, I can't say it's been done because one guy did it, Tom Hanks.
Yes.
But he did it so well that it's been done. Nobody else can really do it. So every later piece of content that has Castaway sort of has to deal with that in some way.
Yes.
And here they do it with Clarkson. And it just works because they're always referring to him and talking to him and looking for him. And
yes,
you got the little smile on, and they use him in one of their races, and they have to pull a cord to move his hand. So of course, when Tori pulls, they're like, "Haha, you pulled off Clarkson." just good Clarkson jokes all around.
Yes.
Meanwhile, somewhere else on Amazon Prime, Clarkson is busy farming.
Yeah.
Soon to be delivered.
Yeah, so the 4th episode, fireworks, man. Yes. This one, I really liked this episode.
So I thought the fish catcher was in this one, and that's why I thought the 4th one was the best. The fireworks went true, like, hey, here's how to make fireworks. Oh, we can't actually tell you.
Yeah. It was this one was like the perfect combination of Mythbusters and Top Gear. That 4th episode.
And it felt like it.
It did. It did. I mean, so Tori creates flares using
50 of them.
using chicken poo, urine, and hay, and then letting it crystallize,
ferment.
Right?
Yeah,
ferment, crystallize, whatever you want to call it. And then he uses some other volatile metals that he wouldn't tell you what they were, that he salvaged from scraping from remains of the boat or whatever. And he creates and they test them, and it's cool. They're like giant bottle rockets, basically. And they put some bamboo in the sand, and they used, I'm not sure what they were using as fuses but something that
cord, nylon cord. I don't know if nylon burns like that, but
I don't know. Yeah, I thought maybe it was something natural. It looked like maybe like grass or something. I don't know. Whatever it was, it worked as a fuse. and they launched these big rockets that were homemade. And there's a cool scene when they're making the material for these rockets where Tori tells Hammond, like, oh, by the way, that could blow up in your face if you're not careful. And Hammond's like,
yeah,
shit. You can say, and it was totally, I don't, that was real. There was no way that's not what really happened.
And so, to scroll back a bit, there are these moments where, like, when they're doing this car race where Hammond's wearing a life vest as a helmet. And you're like, okay, like maybe this is a gag, but if you know Hammond, like, he's had that head injury from the jet car crash, and he's had the Rimac car crash, which is like 180 miles an hour or something off 100 miles an hour off a cliff, like literally just spinning supercar. And so, like, he's a guy who understands, like, you've got to be safe. And he has no desire at this point in his life to risk anything. They do some jokes later with, like, how did this guy sell all these books? But, like,
he saved all his books from the wreck.
He's like, he doesn't want to mess up his body or his face. Like, he understands that he is a smiley character that people in, the UK and around the world enjoy. Like, don't burn your face off, man. Like, that's an easy way to lose your Amazon Prime deals for like any other shows. So normally he'd wear a mask for sure.
Yeah, and this is the episode where they also introduce Hammondland TV.
I love it. I love it. I think that should be there. Like, it should be an Amazon YouTube channel.
Oh, just God, those two. Be great.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
Just popular science.
Yeah.
It's so what Hammondland TV is this iPhone that they've charged up now with their windmill power. Hammond just wants to enjoy being on the island, and if he can make these fun YouTube videos and become a social media influencer, like, it's just going to make his life better. So part of that is just going around and, like, filming how they do these things. And I think it was, the Booze Mill, which was one of them, I really like. But they
also
really
in this episode,
also
in this episode.
So did they start with the fireworks?
They start off with Hammond introducing the Booze Mill, and then they go do the fireworks, and they make like 50 of these rockets, all off of stuff from the island, right? I mean, again, all the stuff they had on hand, no industrialization. I mean, this is stuff that they could legitimately have put together themselves. And he makes all these flares that he wants to launch off to get the attention of a ship so they can get off the island, right?
Which is a brilliant idea. Like,
and it worked.
Yeah, I couldn't have done flares. I don't know anything about gunpowder. Like, I know more about gunpowder, like, in terms of, like, its history, than I do anything about how to use it appropriately. So
use it, I understand. Make it, I'm no good.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, I can stack it pretty well within a metal container. That's not difficult. But let's put it this way: if somebody puts 2 bags of powder in front of me, can I tell the difference between them? No. Yeah. Neither one am I gonna, put in a capsule or put in my body if I don't know what it is.
Yes.
Unless it's Time Fridays.
Yeah. And so they're doing all that, making these rockets, and Hammond is filming it for Hammondland TV with his iPhone or whatever it was. And then he
had a really good line with that, or Tori did, where he's like, tell me about like how you hold the camera. He's like, don't patronize me. Like, these are 2 professionals who really should be able to make any content they want, any TV stuff they want.
Oh yeah, we did skip over that red shirt. We'll chat about that in a second.
48 prisoners making a flannel
the lighthouse. Yes. But Hammond puts Tori to sleep in their now totally pimped out house. And he put together a 4th of July festival for Tori, which is where
classic carnival.
Yes. And this is where the booze wheel came in. This was the most innovative thing in terms of cooling that I have ever seen.
I'm curious if it really works, and I think it would.
It sounded like it would to me, and when they were explaining what they were doing, so Hammond brewed his own hooch from the yucca while they're on the island, and he used some bottles that he sealed up, and he put them on a windmill that continually got the booze bottles that were in socks squirted with water as the windmill's going around.
Yeah, basically just getting them a little bit wet one time around, and to use the evaporative powers, that exist in the world, that would just cool down the water, the alcohol bottles faster than, letting them sit in the ocean.
Yeah, and it actually, I mean, they claimed it got it actually cold.
Well, right. So you feel it, like you can feel when like a bottle is really cold, but that feeling where you're like, I don't know if this is like fridge cold that's good or fridge cold that's not. And I thought that's what Tori had that look on. And then he goes to taste it, and he has that look of maybe it's cold, but then that maybe it's too strong.
Yeah, it was a little hard to tell. Yeah.
I really hope they were making some good alcohol there,
dude. It was neat, just the fact that it worked to cool it down to something resembling a cool beverage temperature. I mean,
so cool.
That's sweet. It took all day. Yeah, it took all day, or even maybe a couple of days. They don't really tell you, but it did eventually create, at least cool beverages.
A few hours.
Yeah,
because we evaporate. Takes only a few minutes. Like I know, just if you go to the beach, you don't really need a towel to cool off unless you're like in Maine or something. Like in Massachusetts, you can just wait a few minutes and you'll be fine, dry, and good. So it should definitely work. And I just love this idea of effortlessly cooling your drink. I can't say that word, but just making your drinks cold without ice. Cheers to that.
It was just cool as shit. And then he sets up a carnival for a 4th of July party, including a 360-degree swing.
Don't love that.
Dude, that was crazy.
So first, let's just say they have like these lighted coconuts everywhere to create this like atmosphere of island carnival. Awesome. You have your ring toss. Awesome. You have
the strength, the hit the hammer and ring the bell thing.
Strength test. Great. You have this weird 360 contraption, which is perfect for carnivals.
Yes.
I can't do that stuff without letting it all out. So
I wouldn't have trusted. I don't care how good of a builder Hammond is. I wouldn't have trusted something made out of island materials. But it worked. It looked legit. I guess they could have hid some metal stuff in there, but it looked legit.
Those big wooden beams were the main things that weren't that weren't regular island material. I saw that wood was really hefty, but but that was only on the main pillars. The rest, the rest of it was regular island construction.
I think they claimed it came from the boat.
Yeah. The counterweight and the main wood was from the boat. But everything else was island, and it was cool to see. I can't believe Tori put himself in it. Like it's one of those things where you wonder why would Richard Hammond put himself in a jet car? Well, he was young and he's never done it since. I would never risk putting myself in a homemade carnival contraption.
And he did.
And he braved it.
And then not only that, Hammond made fish burgers for this episode too. Used the fish that they caught, and he used, was it the yucca he used to make the flour?
Yeah, and it should work too, tapioca starch.
Yeah.
Usually you mix tapioca with other starches because it's not that kind of starch that you want to use.
Yeah.
And Tori Blakey found out big time
that it was not tasty. Yeah, you could taste. he's taking bites of these fish burgers, and they must have been awful. I mean, it was bread, but it clearly did not taste good.
No, and for those of you wondering, like, hey, Aaron or Ace, whatever you want to call me, why do you know about tapioca starch? Well, I have eaten tapioca flour and breads because I don't eat regular bread anymore. And it's terrible. Like, this is not stuff any human being wants to eat. Like, I've had people ask me in a grocery store when I check out with gluten-free, dairy-free pizza. They're like, oh, is that any good? Should I try it? And I ask them, like, do you need to? They're like, no, I just hear it's healthier for you. I'm like, don't try it. No, like, what are you doing? Like, why would you purposely ruin your life? So he's a brave man for eating this food. He really is.
And you could tell it was really, really awful tasting. His reaction was absolutely legit.
Yeah. And it's another thing that we keep saying. Their reactions are all real.
Yes.
They're having fun. Couple times I felt bad for Tori. A lot, like I've never really felt bad for Richard, other than in one part. Yeah,
I mean, that was typical Tori from MythBusters, though. He was always the one. Yeah, he was always the one. He's
got that presenter attitude of just like, let's have fun, let's do it. Here's how you build it. There was one thing where it's like in the next episode, War Games.
Yes.
So, but basically, we talk about those fireworks, and the way you get to happy-go-lucky fireworks from into War Games is that these are supposed to be rescue flares, and Hammond just lights them off for the 4th of July.
And Tori's in the 360 swing at the time, and he's fucking pissed. I mean, he's screaming, "Richard Hammond!"
It is insult to injury. Or just it's like it's a kick. It's a kick to the nuts. It really was.
Yeah, exactly. Tori was the one who tended to get thrown around, and he was the guinea pig. And Richard lit off all of these flares that Tori had taken weeks to build and make the materials for in a 4th of July celebration. It was a great fireworks show. And Tori was pissed.
I would be so happy if somebody made that carnival like, hey, it's going to be the 4th of July. Let's do a little American style carnival. Which
is
that American? Are non-American carnivals different?
I couldn't tell you because I have not been to one.
I know. I feel like
Sentient Dildo might be able to tell us because he's not American. But yeah, I mean, it was cool for this like carnival festival environment to close it out, and but Tori was, of course, extremely angry because he wants to get off this island, and Richard just wasted all of his flares for a party.
Don't be mad, bro.
which was very Richard. I mean, it was great, just a good time, made you laugh, and it played to the thing that they had built about the show to have them button heads half the time. Which of course is what resulted in the next episode.
Yeah. Cause Richard's always trying to enjoy this. And one thing I imagine that if this guy's married, he's got kids, let's just say they had their family, let's say it's not even really an island. Let's just say they're just on a tropical part of a nice, let's say just off the coast of Miami somewhere. And their family, they're just 100 yards away from the hotel. If I were Richard Hammond, I would not want to leave this set ever. Just see my family in the morning, go to set, have fun. He's really able to make you think he would love to stay. And Tori Belleci is playing it like he wants to get off. Yeah. And he's even got this little toy camera that he's making these messages baby, I'm coming home to you. Check the doll's purple face.
Yeah. It's like a teddy bear that's got a built-in camera in it for kids that he uses to do a diary of his island time.
like a happy Blair Witch diary.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah, Sentient Dildo says yes, they do set off fireworks quite a bit. So it sounds like it sounds like the European experience is just like ours over here, which is cool. But before we move into the War Games, we should talk about the lighthouse real quick.
Yes.
This is
That-
badass.
That
It's
was
so cool.
crazy. I think my biggest challenge actually might have been with the lighthouse, and not with making it itself, but was with those lenses. So they have to make lenses, which is glass, and you have sand, but making glass is no easy feat.
Yeah.
And they end up building a kiln. And that is a one time where I'm like, oh man, like, do you guys know what you're doing?
Yeah.
Like later on when Tori's making, fireworks, he's doing it in a way where I'm like, this cool. Like you got your table, everything's set up, your ingredients are split. Here you just have a kiln, and he opens it up and it is glowing hot. And like, I know what fire feels like, and that is not,
Yes.
Yeah. And it's another time where Richard Hammond decides, I'm just going to sit over there.
Yeah.
Not going to burn any bits of me.
Yes. Yeah. And so Tori, originally he's trying to melt sand into glass, but they can't get the kiln hot enough. Which brings up another cool interaction between these guys. Tori keeps quoting temperatures and things like that in Fahrenheit. And then Richard converts it to Celsius.
Yeah.
Right? So they never use the same temps, and they convert
like,
back
you mean
and forth.
1,200 in real money.
Yeah.
Like Richard says something like that. I'm like, you British bastard.
Which just it's the mood of the show, and it's fun.
It's that dynamic that they play off of.
Yeah.
You got this, I think Tori even says like, you European, British, I don't even know what you are anymore.
Yeah.
And like, fair. Brexit makes no sense.
Neither do the rest of us. Yeah. The rest of us don't know either. But so melting the sand isn't feasible because it needs to get too hot at the end of the day, and they just can't get the kiln that hot. But they've got a bunch of broken bottles from the beach that have washed up on shore, and re-melting existing glass, that they can do, because that melting temperature is much lower once it's already been glass. And so they take all this trash glass and they're able to melt that. And after a lot of tries, eventually he's able to work it out to make the glass lenses that he needs to build the big lens for the lighthouse, which is cool.
He has these, basically these molds, like yay big, but shaped specifically that when they go together, they will geometrically create, sort of like a circle, but not really. It's got lines, but it's a really cool plan. And to see that progression from sand to broken glass to this like in between stage to finally polishing real glass
is cool.
And you can tell that Tori's been there all day because his shirt is getting soaked. It's like a concert where the band has just been on stage and it's 100 degrees and the guitarist is just like, he's wearing his guitar at his chest and it's soaked through. Like it is so clear that Tori was trying to do it. Yeah. What a job.
Dude, I mean, it was cool. It was just cool.
It really was. Because I remember thinking, like, what are you doing with that kiln? Do you know what you're doing?
I don't think he did.
No, right. It sounds like he had no idea at the start of it. And he's like, it turns out you have to like let it cool down when you do it. Like, that sounds like someone who knows how to use a kiln would know what to do, like cooling it down and all. Yeah. But he gets there, and which is awesome. But it's just an amazing feat of competence and entertainment. Like, and you don't have to blow it up to be fun. Like if the kiln blew up, I would have been entertained. Yeah. But it doesn't have to be that show.
He definitely made all of that. You get kind of a brief montage, but he definitely made this big lens
100%
out of this melted glass, which was cool as hell. And then Richard rigged up a pulley system that made it spin at the exact same rate as a regulated lighthouse.
Which, do you know lighthouse regulations? Like I've been to the Cape. There's a lighthouse right underneath the George Washington Bridge. To be fair, I've seen it. I have no idea.
Yeah, which it was just cool as shit though, because I mean they made a legit lighthouse, and Richard has this hysterical line when they've got it done, and he said, "We could get this certified as a real lighthouse." Well, if there are any lighthouse certification experts, you know, like
it's one of those like halting. Right, we are far away from civilization. Yeah, I mean, it's just his delivery was really funny.
It was good.
There's another one where like they're making stuff, and Richard's like, here's some we've made earlier. Yeah, and Troy's like, yeah, now you're getting it.
Yeah,
like, yes. And I like that there's this interplay between they're playing these guys who are lost on this island, but they're also playing themselves, who are television hosts with tons of experience. And, you know, like there's that one part where they're like, Richard's saying like he used to do nature shows, and they're like, oh yeah, like there's this spider, and Tori guesses what it is, and Richard's like, maybe. But that's also been a gag with him, because he's done these shows, and sometimes the show's been good, but he's no David Attenborough.
Yes.
Like he's more of just like a silly guy. So it was just fun to see all those little interplays where they get to be themselves and these characters. And it's sort of like, it's not breaking the fourth wall. It's having this dynamic third and a half wall.
I mean, it almost was fourth wall breaking though, right? I mean, like almost. Kinda.
I mean, but it's not having us. It's not being set up in a way where when you do it, it's so broken. They're playing these characters where it's just sort of like the stage. The audience is so close to the stage that there's just no separation, and I don't know. It's like you can smell their breath in a way.
Yeah, and when they're doing the Hammondland TV, and when Tori's doing his videos into the nanny cam, it like those are sort of the fourth wall breaking moments, but they're not really breaking it with you. They're breaking it with some other audience.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
Which is also something we haven't really talked about, which was the meta context.
Yeah.
Of like how they're narrating this story to the authorities, so to speak.
Yes, to the cops that pick them up. Yeah. So yeah, in each episode, they're explaining, I mean, just like Ace said, they're narrating everything that we're watching in the show to these cops in a confession room. And you don't know what the hell is going on with this until we get to the very end.
I think it's an interview or an interrogation room.
Yes.
Confession room might be more Catholic.
Oh, did I say confession?
Yeah.
Yeah, like an interrogation room. Yeah. Oh, God. Stream brain. So all this button heads brings us to the 5th episode. Is it Richard saying, it's real characters from other shows. It's 2 shows within a show. Yeah, basically, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a have you ever read Tom Stoppard?
No.
He's he's an author, American, writes plays. There's this one play that he writes that where it's a play about play critics. So right. So you have these play critics sitting in an audience watching a play, and their play breaks the play that they're watching breaks the fourth wall with the critics eventually as characters in their play. But us as an audience just get to watch that, and it's a really funny play.
And that's basically what's going on here. Yeah, exactly. To Red Shirt's point, kind of the show within a show. And that all that butting heads and stuff brings us to War Games, the 5th episode, which is it's a hoot. And their animosity to each other of the characters, gets to the point where they're trying to blast each other with various different weapons tech that they could build from the island. And to Mary G's point earlier, when they're blasting pineapples at each other with like an oversized potato gun, basically.
Yeah, it's just a potato gun, and Hammond shoves pineapples down it. And he first demonstrates this to the puppet of Clarkson, and he's got these fish goggles on, like, scuba, like scuba or so like his nose is pressed down. He's sounding kind of nasally. Yeah. He's like, "I'm a man like you, but I'm a man with a massive cannon," and it's just this huge thing, and it really fires pineapples. Oh boy! Wow! Just seeing it rip a target to shreds is fun. Like,
yeah, and they've got just all kinds of various weapons that they just built, and this stuff was definitely all built with either island shit or legit ship stuff. And
yeah, I mean, this is all pretty easy if you have an old apartment building that gets torn down from the 80s. All this stuff is available.
Yes, and they just whip together these various non-lethal weapons, and they're firing them at each other. And well, I guess some of them could be.
I was going to say that pineapple to a human body at that pressure. Yeah. I mean, you'll be picking pineapple out of your gut, not from the right way. But the Greco. So Tori has this line. It's like, "Well, I have rope, and I don't have to explain to you about Greco-Roman artillery." And I was like, "Who do you mean you? Like these interrogators? Like, I'm pretty sure you do, and you have to explain it to me because I love history and I love, I knew he was going to do a ballista or a trebuchet, but I couldn't build one, and he builds a ballista, which is like a crossbow, but more ancient and cooler and bigger and better.
And he had built things like that on Mythbusters.
That's what I've seen of his. I've seen him do like really cool contraptions.
Yeah. So like everything he built, I'm 100% certain he built it. Like this episode in particular, I don't think they had any help. Like,
no, because it wasn't like massive construction.
Yes.
It was.
Yeah. It was, and they looked like they were having fun, man.
Yeah, it was just a ton of fun. Like I mean, it's the kind of thing where you wish you had Amazon paying you to do this. Like, this is, if you really love acting, then I guess you've never acted a day in your life, but this is fun. This is just, so you have the ballista, which great idea, but this is also when Tori steals the puppet of Clarkson. and
now he's a traitor.
I just lost it because I'm hearing like Jeremy Clarkson's voice like, Hammond, you idiot, Hammond, and I'm just like, oh, I think they should do that as like a special cut, just the Clarkson edition.
That'd be funny, man. It would be good.
So after you have this artillery, there is something here that we should talk about actually before we go down there. Is that he shoots this at the water piping, at the aqueduct, and ruins it, which is great for warfare purposes. Totally dick if that's what you're actually drinking from. Like really rough. But it's when Tori starts distilling urine.
Yes.
And he really does it. And he has Clarkson there, and he's explaining to Clarkson in that, piece to camera way of like, here's some urine that I've distilled earlier, and he drinks it, and you could tell it was
real. It was real. He definitely was drinking his own distilled urine.
And there's one part that I thought maybe that wasn't real, and this was earlier when they did the kiln, and they collected clay for it, and they did it by going to like ant farms, and sourcing the clay that they pick up. And Hammond has been bitten by ants before, so he knows what that's like.
Yeah,
that one I was like, I don't know that you guys.
Yeah, I don't think they really got bitten by the fire ants, but the point was well made, though.
The point was good, and I enjoyed it. It was the kind of thing where the first time around, I totally slipped by, but when I watched it again, just a week later, I just turned it right back on, and then I was like, wait a moment.
Yeah.
You should be in more pain.
Yeah. So now we get to the last episode of the show, and this one's titled Liftoff. And we alluded earlier in the stream to the fact that they were flying.
Oh, wait. We missed one part.
All right.
So, Hammond steals the tank and armors it.
Yes.
And he he does that, like, we're the British, we built the tanks, and indeed they did. Which is just cool, like, to see. So he basically combines that previous what Tori built with the helix pillars and armors it with aluminum. That's a
I love when they keep doing that back and forth, aluminum.
Yeah, and that's the pineapple grenade, the launcher. So he sort of combines it all together, makes it one massive tank, and then Tori decides that he can construct I guess basically an air cannon.
Yes.
To fire toxic air at Hammond. I forget what it was called. A vortex cannon. So he just uses pressurized air in a vortex to shoot a ring of air, except he heats up cut up chilies first and then uses that air to blow at Hammond. And it really looks like he poisoned Hammond with chili powder.
Yes.
And Hammond's like, you gassed me. That's illegal. Like, Geneva. And I'm like, he did. Like,
I think he did. Yeah.
He really did. Like, not the worst. Like, it's chili powder. I think Tori said something like organic, like, not bad. Like, it's not mustard seed, and it's not chemical byproduct, which is what real, chemical warfare is. Like, it's not real chemical warfare, but if my friend ever did that to me, even as a joke, he would face serious consequences, Jake. He would, like, I would.
I'd be taking one on the chin. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Like, either that or the silent treatment for like a year. Yeah. The largest pepper spray
in the world. All that gets us to the final episode where, Tori is still trying to get him the hell off the island, and Hammond actually builds a machine that does indeed fly. It's again, he's used island materials plus one of the smaller engines from the ship.
It was the same one from the go-kart.
Yes. Yeah. And so he puts together this, is a rotocopter? Is that what the name of it is?
I think it was a gyrocopter.
Gyrocopter, yeah.
I mean, that just sounds like a Greek sandwich.
Yeah. And so he puts a propeller on the front of this thing to generate the thrust through the air. And it's got like a helicopter's type blades above that generate lift.
Yeah.
And this thing legit flies. Hammond pilots it around the island and safely lands the thing. Which is like, wow.
So, So he's not even the one with like the most flying experience of the Top Gear gang.
Yeah.
James May is one who actually knows how to fly. And like that metal frame was like, they really, like, this is just piping and wood. Like, this is not anything I would ever go into. But Hammond is a fan of Evel Knievel. He's done his own interview documentary with him, and has at one point been strapped to a biplane.
Yeah.
So like, it's a regular old school biplane, and him just strapped onto it and just went up and had, so he's done his dangerous flying events. Yeah. But this is really just different. And
this was dangerous as hell.
Wow. Like,
Red Shirt says he's had a helicopter pilot's license since
his shortly
after the jet car crash. Yeah.
All right, so he's had it. I mean, at least now for probably 10, 15 years.
So he did know what he was doing somewhat.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Well, that's good because I know James May is a flyer. He likes to fly.
Well, Red Shirt
really?
says, yeah. Okay, I'm going to take your word for it, Red Shirt, because I don't know.
I believe it. Yeah. I mean, James May is the kind of guy who would start something like that and then, relax.
Yeah. Oh, man.
James used to be a big flyer.
That was so cool, though, because it
was scary.
They really built this thing. It really worked. Hammond really piloted. There was no bullshit there. He really flew this thing.
Had his funny helmet on again.
Yeah. Made out of a life preserver.
Which is like, once you're 100 feet up in the air,
I don't think it's going to help.
No, it won't. Like, I've fallen off a chairlift.
Yeah.
And it's painful.
Mm-hmm.
I must have been at least 30 feet up, but no more, and I had a helmet on and I landed in powder. You know what? My side hurt, but my head was good. And
but I mean,
triple that and a life vest.
He was at least 100 feet up, and this thing really flew, and it was incredible. And he figured it out. He was able to get it to fly straight, and he
flew it better than he drove the go-kart.
Yeah,
he could turn.
It was it was incredible, man. It was a homemade flying machine with a tiny little propeller engine on it, and dude handled it like he'd been flying it all his life. It was insane.
Tori had a line right before they started, which was, did we make a gyrocopter or just another way to hurt Richard Hammond? And the way he said it, he was like, yep, we don't know. We really don't know. Like, it should work. And I'm sure, I'm sure this was probably tested.
Oh, yeah.
They have the teams. It was built. Everybody made sure that it was safe.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you're putting an ordinary guy in a plane or a gyrocopter with no walls. Like, it's like the difference between a car and a motorcycle at 120 miles an hour.
Yeah, it was dangerous. I mean, even if it was, highly vetted by extremely experienced engineers, it was dangerous, and he flew it like a champ. I mean, it was incredible.
And just to say, they took all the precautions to make this a safe show. Hammond still took his little tank and crashed into that water wheel we mentioned earlier.
Yes.
And that fell down on him and he was fine.
Yeah.
But like, as much as you want, you can't be safe when you're doing these kind of shows and these kind of stunts.
Yes. Yeah. Remember how hard it is to insure Richard Hammond these days. Yes. Yeah. I mean, sending him up in that copter was, we overuse the word awesome these days because it's just become a common slang word. It was truly, in the real sense of the definition of the word, awesome.
I mean, I grew up in the 90s. Everything was awesome. So we used the word and it stuck.
Yeah. It was just beautiful seeing the guy fly this thing. Yeah. And now it's not going to.
Corey even feeling that way. He was like, "Oh my God, Richard!"
Dude, he was excited seeing that thing work. Again, very genuine reaction that we got to see on film. I'm not sure he believed it would actually work, and then he sees Richard go up in the air. It's like it was cool, which brings us to the thousands of condoms that they found at the beginning of the show. I told you to remember those condoms.
Yeah, which is a great use of condoms.
It was.
So
and no, it wasn't because they were two lonely guys trapped on an island together.
And they needed to be safe. So this is a show all about safety. Richard Hammond is tired of being unsafe. We got to see them experiment with, what was it? Separating hydrogen from oxygen.
Separating water.
Into
hydrogen and oxygen, and they collected the hydrogen gas in order to blow up the condoms like balloons. And they mostly referred to them as balloons from then on out.
Which I appreciated.
Yeah.
I would have kept being like, come on, don't do that.
Yes. So they fill up tens of thousands of these rubbers with hydrogen gas.
It was also the last time I was thinking, I wonder how many of the crew had to be in this assembly line of assembling rubbers, because just thinking of just like your Amazon Prime, stage crew. There were thousands,
and they build like a dirigible from it, and they put Clarkson in it, and they're getting ready to launch it. And the thing about these things moving around and hydrogen gas and static electricity,
let's just say they're meant to be lubricated. Without lubrication, you create friction. Friction is not your friend.
Yeah. And so the static electricity causes the hydrogen to explode into this giant fireball, and it was beautiful.
It is not CGI. It's a condom explosion.
And it was beautiful.
Never gonna say that phrase again.
Yeah, normally you don't want your condoms to explode. That's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But in this case, it was beautiful, and we loved
magnificent.
it. This is right as some guys from the local Coast Guard were
the Policia Nacional.
The Policia Nacional from some unnamed country. Yeah. Roll up, they see the explosion. They pick the guys up, and this is where the interrogation room comes in. And the final joke, yes, sentient dildo, it absolutely went Hindenburg, and it was great.
Yeah, it's lovely.
It was wonderful. And this is where the final joke comes in. They want to know what they did with Clarkson, because they talk about him in the interrogation like he was a real guy. And then they finally tell these cops that are interrogating him, no, he was a dummy. And they, they let him go.
Senor Clarkson.
Yeah. Yes. How many shows end with exploding condoms? None others that I know of, Red Shirt. And it was a very cool end to the show. And
I'm trying to think, maybe Ace Ventura, the second one, but that happened off screen. Because I'm pretty sure that movie ends with, they say she is not a virgin. And Ace goes, they can tell that? It's like just him running.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice, solid ending. You also find out that, I mean, pretty obviously, that earlier gag about the sail, that Richard had just taken the sail and hidden it because he didn't really feel like going out back in the water, which I understand. Like I'm not a boat person. If I had just gotten shipwrecked, I wouldn't try to go back out. So Tori's a little bit upset about that, and that's funny. And there's
so.
You know what? Let's just have a drink and take a vacation, which is a great setup if they wanted to do another one of these.
Oh, they totally could, man. It was a fun show. The personalities were good together, and the blend of Top Gear and Mythbusters together worked.
It's popular science for the 21st century.
Yeah.
In a way that the old Top Gear, they keep trying to make Top Gear something good. And I'm still watching it. I'm still watching the BBC one, the USA one. And they have cars, but it doesn't have these personalities. And Mythbusters was 12 seasons or something, 8 or 12,
19.
Yeah, sorry, I combined it. Yeah, sorry, 19. Yeah, combine the two or something there.
Well, 20 if you count the one season they did with the new guys.
No, you see, you don't do that. No.
Yeah.
It's like if the Simpsons had different characters than the Simpsons. No.
Yeah.
It's just not the same. And all these the whole ice road trucker genre, that was a neat show when it first came out. I was you guys are doing a job that is different. Sure.
It was cool. I liked the one they did one in South America called Most Dangerous Roads. It was all the same drivers from Ice Road Truckers, and they went on these these crazy mountain roads in South America, and it was Jesus, it was dangerous.
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff where like it's still good entertainment, but that like I don't know, that reality TV show aspect of it got really old really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And here it all the reality TV show is a farce.
Yes.
And it's fun.
Yeah.
And it's good because you have these two funny guys who can totally take the piss out of each other if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Like you can tell that like some of these takes they had to do over, and that like they're just laughing, and like it's good.
They really seem to be having fun and enjoying each other's just screwing around more than anything else.
I hope that they stay together. I think this could be the point where we go from the show to more of like the Amazon context of this. Because there's one thing in this show that I noticed really every episode, and we haven't talked about it at all, but it's the music. None of the music is music that's like a real song. It's all very reminiscent of songs you've heard before, but this is like this is your in-house band. This is your studio music. There's no X-ray on the music. There's no like this artist did this or that.
Yeah, and it blended into the show itself very well.
It succeeded here.
Yes, because
it had its own little jingle and theme song.
Yeah, you don't want the music to stand in a show like this. The music shouldn't stand out.
Right. You don't need rock and roll.
No.
And so
it was good.
It was good. But it made me notice that, if this wasn't filmed during, the pandemic times, it could have been,
It may have been. I don't know.
It may have been. And if it were, great. And if it wasn't, sure, whatever. But
yeah, because
this was done seemingly on a very favorable budget. And, they didn't buy any Beatles songs or anything to go with it. And the reason I bring it up is that I've watched the Grand Tour, and their last episode had a trip to Madagascar, and it was overly produced in the reality kind of sense, which is a shame. But all of the music was from previous Grand Tour episodes. And I could even go back and tell you which one's which for each song, because they did a really good job with the music in their series, especially in their specials, to make some intense good moments where you combine the music with these moments, especially in some episodes too. Like there's one where they go to China and it's like, here's the largest city you've never heard of. Yeah. So there's a lot of funding issues that can go into it. And it really took me out of the Grand Tour that the music was all the same with that last episode. And when it got to here, I was like, okay, I think I am understanding Amazon's strategy. Here is two good actors with the reality strength.
Yeah.
You could give them a few dimes and they're going to make fireworks.
Yeah. It does look like this was filmed during summer of last year.
2020?
Yeah. Yes. Because this hit Amazon on January 28th. I mean, they didn't sit on this show for a year before airing it. So yeah, this appears to have been pandemic filmed.
I mean, this was perfect then, because
it's great.
You got the right people. And I think this might be Amazon's attempt to shift away from the Grand Tour as a thing in general. Because you can take Richard Hammond and pair him up. Like he's great with, on his own, but he's excellent with an ensemble. And a guy like Tori Belleci brings out the best in Richard Hammond.
Yeah,
like
he did.
These guys have so much fun.
And if they do another version of this, whether you call it a season 2 of Great Escapists or whether they do something else, I think it'll get even better, because as the season wore on, their chemistry improved. and their timing and their interactions with each other improved as the season wore on. So I think if you put them into a season 2, whether it's whether it's the same kind of shtick or whether they do something else, right? But I think you keep these guys together, and you could probably do 5 or 6 seasons with these guys screwing with each other.
Yeah, you could do a lot of friendly TV shows of just how can we mess around with each other in Russia? How can we do it here or there? I mean, go anywhere. Just what material from 15 years ago can we cannibalize into fun?
Yeah. So I mean that's what it was, man. It was. I mean, look, is this as good as Top Gear in its heyday? Ace, I'm going to guess that's a no from you.
I'm going to say no, but it's also just different,
Yeah.
Top Gear as a show is or it was, and maybe it still is. I mean, the format's a bit different, especially with the pandemic, but it was this thing where you would have like guests sitting down and like 20 minutes of like a talk show, and then car on a track and funny stuff with the latest cars, is this new BMW good? Well, let's do something silly with it. And that silly stuff is exactly what these guys do here.
Yes.
And in that regard, it's on brand, on point. But Top Gear had this mix of, cultural relevancy as well as like a lot of fun. And this doesn't have that, like of the day kind of thing,
which I kind of like.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have that. And then when you get to like its iteration on the Grand Tour, the Grand Tour even said like the guests don't work anymore. People don't want that. They want the adventure. They want and then they switch to the adventure, and they're finding out that we don't just want the adventure. Like we liked it when they went places and had these different encounters, and when they tried to overdo it, it didn't work. And so well, it's not as good as I would say, like, I mean, I can't even compare it. I'd have to compare it to like a special, an individual special, because a season of Top Gear is not the same, but probably better than some seasons and not as good as others. But how would you compare it to Mythbusters?
This is at least as good as the first season of Mythbusters, which was a little rough.
That's a good comparison.
You could see that there was a good concept there, but they needed to make it better.
A lot of TVs have that.
They did. Yeah. And that's why it went on to, that's why they had 19 seasons, for Christ's sake, because there was a good formula there.
I didn't know it was 19.
19. 20 if you count the one with the replacement guys.
That makes me think that I may have just Sometimes I thought that there were just reruns of Mythbusters, and maybe it was just new episodes all the time.
And most of them had like 20 episodes a season.
Right, they were full 20 something.
Yeah. So this was at least as good as like Mythbusters season 1. It was not as good as Mythbusters in its heyday. Like when they were really good at that show.
Yeah.
Nowhere near that good. But I think they could get to a level like that if they kept these guys together and, keep doing this kind of shtick.
Do you think they want to? Both Amazon and I think Tori and Richard would probably do it because no reason
doing
not
anything
to.
else.
Yeah. Yeah. Justin of the Red Shirt's right.
Yeah.
I mean, and Andy Wollman's with them at the Grand Tour, and it's just not the same. And I think what they could do if they wanted to get there would be to make it much more natural and give them just some more old challenges that, like you said, like with the Ice Road Trucker Gang, like they just went to a more difficult road that they've never done before. And that is entertaining for us. It's exciting on their behalf. And we enjoyed that when they were going through let's take 90s sports cars and go to, they just went to Madagascar, but anywhere like that, it just works. And this time they overdid it, and they're just thinking too hard. And here, this was, I know I've said it before, but that popular science, just it's been done so poorly so many times.
Oh,
and it can seem patronizing. And this doesn't do that. This is not a kid show. This isn't, this is not like this is not, they're not doing it for, any other reason than that this works and that you can get these
Yeah.
fun guys together
It
and
was fun.
make it happen.
End of the day, it was fun.
And rewatchable.
Oh,
But
hell yeah.
I noticed it didn't get amazing ratings. Right now, it's basically like a 6 out of 10 or something, somewhere between a 5 and a 6, depending on where you go.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Amazon ratings, it was okay, right? It looks like it's at 3.6 out of 10, but it's got a heavily skewed like 23% of the ratings at 1 star that just don't look particularly legit to me.
Mm-hmm. 1-star ratings are very odd because sometimes it could just be people saying like, this is stupid, I don't like it. Or it could be diehard fans who, like, I can tell you if I wanted Top Gear and I came here looking for Top Gear, I'm wrong, but I might respond that way.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's almost like some people thought it was a reality show. Right? When I'm reading a few of the ratings, I mean, it's not a reality show. Do they sort of set it up to kind of look like one? Yeah, but everybody
that's
knows.
The gag.
Yeah, it's the gag.
And that's what I said about the setup. Like, you're starting it off, and Hammond is lying on the beach, and he's not. This is not in the middle of the surf getting pummeled. Yeah. This is a guy who is just lied down and is happy.
He's chilling. He's having a good time.
And to me, it set my stage perfectly because I knew not to expect the talk directly to the camera and not to expect like drama. Like, this wasn't going to be I can't believe Richard's doing this. Like, no, it's I can't believe Richard's shooting pineapples.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, even when they're shooting pineapple at each other, it's like quick intermission. Tori walks down from their treehouse and it's like, so how did you do this?
Yeah.
Pretty cool. And Richard's like, it is pretty cool, but it's also more of a distance weapon. So can you go back to being long distance? Like, way more fun than a true reality show.
Yeah, Red Shirt says, Bear Grylls isn't really a proper reality show either. These guys at least played it for laughs. And that is true. I've never seen
Bear Grylls.
So they got better at hiding it in later seasons and episodes, but I remember the first 3 seasons, you could see that they hid a life vest underneath his shirt, or that he had like a wire keeping his ass safe while he was doing something crazy. And don't get me wrong, the dude did some crazy shit and he did it pretty cool, but like at first they weren't very good at hiding the fact that they weren't going to let their guy die. On the other hand, Man was completely legit.
Really?
Yeah.
If you're seeing The Wires like a Mike Myers movie, that sort of breaks it.
Well, they were trying to hide it, but you just couldn't completely because they weren't very good at it at first, So.
I mean,
all right.
These guys hid their cameraman. You never saw the cameraman. No. You never saw any of like the background production. And I kept my eye out for any of the telltale signs for low quality production. And these guys,
Red Shirt knows what I'm talking about there. Survivor Man, Les Stroud. That dude is, you'll be stuck in the middle of nowhere with somebody. That's the guy you want.
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Bear is absolutely a madman who I would be very happy to be stuck in the wilderness with, but I'd take Les Stroud over Bear Grylls any day if I had my choice.
Oh, just looking at their pictures online, Bear Grylls looks like an ad for the jacket he's wearing.
Yeah.
And Les Stroud doesn't look like an advertisement.
All right, man. Well, I'm not sure how the hell we did it, but we've been rolling for like an hour 45. So it's probably time to wrap her up. So I don't know. Final thoughts on The Great Escapists, man. Give her a rating and let me know if you'd like to see more of this.
Yeah. So my rating is 7 out of 10. I give it a 7 because the things that I didn't like were mostly that I wanted to see more of the builds. I wouldn't have minded if they let us see some of the crew on the bigger builds.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that would have been too much fourth wall breaking, but I wouldn't have minded more of the story to fill in. And I like 6 episodes felt, I don't know, the timing was off. I think the front end was a little bit slow, and the back end was really energetic. And they could have edited that to make it a little bit more balanced. So that's why it doesn't get, the 8 or 9 or 10, but it's a 7 out of 10. And I'd love to see a season 2 where they just, they leave the interrogation room.
Yeah.
They go on the plane to somewhere else,
Like
and
the
that plane crashes
or something.
in their next great escape place.
That'd be cool.
Make it a Hatchet story.
Yeah. Oh, Hatchet, man. Oh, that takes me back.
I know that's like the first. It's the good old story, but that's what I thought of when I saw this. I was like, that's my first escape story.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
So, what's your grade here?
I'm right there with you. I'm going to give it the 7 out of 10. Exact same grade. Enjoyable, fun, especially the second half of the show was a hoot. And these guys, they really developed a good chemistry by the end of this. And yes, I would, your thought right there of them hopping on a plane to go somewhere and having the plane crash, like that would be an awesome setup for season 2 of this. And at
the end of it, this time we're taking a train.
Yeah. And they could do that. Like, and they could play that out. I think if they did another few seasons of this, it could be a really good hit. What's cool about it is it's an inexpensive production. I mean, really, it's not a terribly expensive production to do. It probably has a similar budget to the first season of Survivor, which was not very much. And you could do this inexpensively for several seasons, and I bet it would make its money back, which is one of the things that you're looking for in the streaming wars type of days. So please give me more Hammond and Belleci, because I love them both. And especially by the end, these guys worked really well together, and it was entertaining. And that's all I want.
That's it.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. We had, between about 5 and 8 people at any given point during the stream. I hope that we've convinced a few of you to turn the show on because it was good. If you're catching this on the replay, thank you, by God, for listening to us blather on for an hour and 50 minutes on this. Hopefully, if I don't have it already, we've earned your subscription to the channel, and we'll talk to you on the next video.
Have a good one.